You are listening to the Ranch Hand Podcast.
Should we shut down Zoom, or do you want me to stay in video?
We can stay in video, and then I'll just kind of match it up with the actual video.
Okay.
So, yeah, sorry about that. That was a whole. Last time I did it with somebody, and it was my fault. It was on my end, so I don't know. It's just something that kind of happens.
Yeah, there's nothing simple for me to understand how to fix, unless it's like I don't have the most recent version of Zoom up.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah. So, can you hear me? Everything's okay.
Sure, I'm hearing you. Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
I'm hearing you, and I'm hearing you through the computer.
Janky.
So I'm hearing two audios.
Probably
That's fine.
We can just.
If you could mute your phone.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'll do that.
And then I will hear you through that, and I'll speak through my phone.
Okay. Full roundabout, but that'll work.
Perfect. Okay, now it's all good. Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. Well, I'm sorry for the little bit of inconvenience.
No problem. So how long have you been doing this podcast? And like, where did you get the idea? And who have you interviewed? I tried to look for it. I just have on my Apple thing, but yeah.
No, you're good. I recently started it this year. I've done it with like 3 or 4 other people. I'm a fielder. People set up, but I guess the reason I haven't posted yet because I'm trying to get a little bit of a backlog.
Some headway. Yeah.
Before I start posting, and so that's kind of where I'm at. I think after this one, I'll start posting, but that's kind of where we're.
And you're calling it the Ranch Hand, or what are you calling it?
Yeah, the Ranch Hand.
Nice. Okay, and the theme is like alternative ways to get into agriculture, or what? What do you say?
So, my wife and I hope to start our own ranch or farm someday.
Mm-hmm.
And so and I like talking to farmers and ranchers just because they're pretty down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the idea kind of came from, just wanting to understand more about the agricultural world and people who are already in it and doing it.
Sure.
And so that's where the idea came from, and I didn't really want to sit and take notes the whole time while somebody talks, so it's just easier to record it and then post it, so that way I don't have to sit here and like take notes while I talk with people. I can talk and like go back and listen to it.
Podcasts are it. Like I don't know. I think it's such an important new medium in the last 10 years. Like people don't listen to the radio, but they listen to in the same way, but they listen to the podcast. Like I queue it up, or if I'm like doing work around the house, I think this is the medium you want to be on. You know, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, no, and it's fun because I get to like reach out to people, and then I get to talk to people such as yourself, and get to hear why you do the things the way you do it, and things like that. So
sure. Who else have you interviewed?
Okay, So I interviewed a guy who helps with like small businesses because I thought that'd be a good like first one, just like if you're starting out.
Uh-huh.
The Meisners, so Norma Lane. I talked to Emmett Meisner.
I don't know who that is. What do they do?
They're pretty close to mine. They do dairy. They're just big dairy production.
Sure.
And then I've talked to the last one. I talked to I forget their name. Oh, it was my cousin because he's going into like preservation. That's like his degree, and he wants to do stuff with that, with like fish hatcheries and stuff like that.
All right.
So, yeah. But, I've actually, my family and I have been to your place a lot for the pizza.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, super good. We've enjoyed it every time. So my mom was the one who originally gave me the idea to have you on.
Great. Thanks for coming. I'm glad I can be on. What you're out of? It says Neilsville on the phone.
Oh, I'm originally
From where?
Marshall area.
Marshville, Stratford? Okay. Yeah. Chile?
Right now, because my wife's doing her grad school, so.
Yeah. I get down to Chile implements sometimes for parts.
Yeah, so I guess to start off, I did a little bit of research. I read some of on your website, and that you're a third-generation farm. When it was founded, was it originally built for, like, the pizza and thing, or is that more of a recent year, like, you built that type thing?
Yeah. Here, I'll tell you, here's the history, and I'll try to keep it somewhat brief, but it was founded in 1948 is what my aunt says, and my grandfather was the last of 17 children, but the first U.S.-born kid in the early 1900s, or 1917, like during the World War I German state consolidation. They were like refugees, basically, from that. Came to, Ellis Island, through Milwaukee, and then bought land up here near Athens. And they had built a farm, my great-grandfather, at the end of this road that I'm currently living on. And then my grandfather built another farm in like the 30s, but kind of lost it in the Depression leading up to the war. And then reestablished this farm in the mid to late 40s. And so 1948, there was like the farm got going. And then my grandfather was more of a lumberjack, probably, but, logged the land, bought, cleared fields, and had 7 daughters and 1 son to like milk cows. So they bought dairy. And then my dad bought the farm from him in 1976. And growing up, we had a 50-cow conventional dairy farm on this farm. And then I bought it from him in 2006. And I had been a student at UW-Madison, and I just saw the potential of the local food movement in UW-Madison with Madison Farmers Market, not just the one around the Capitol, but like all throughout the city, and the rise of community-supported agriculture in Madison. And people just seemed very hungry for it. And my ex-wife, who I was in college with, wanted to have a farm, was into rural sociology at the time and vegetables, and we had plots in F.H. King, the student garden there. And I just kind of realized that Wausau, the Wausau area, which is like my hub, Marshfield, Wausau, could support this up here. It was kind of underrepresented, as many sort of cultural niches are in places the size of Wausau or Marshfield. so CSA had not really taken hold. There was one other CSA here, but it was not up to, I don't know. Not less than people wanting. So we came back, got in the Wausau Farmers Market, and realized, like, I grew up on a dairy farm, but I wanted to keep my farm going. We had to sell our cows in the late 90s when I was a senior in high school, 98, and that was sort of devastating to me, which is, somewhat ironic, because I'm the type of kid who hated doing chores, but also loved my farm. I think that's a normal dichotomy, right? So but I love my farm. I did not want to leave my family, and so my parents, after they sold it, I was in college until 2004. Then I taught high school for 3 years, AP English and Social Studies, and then when my ex-wife finished her master's degree, we decided to move. We got married, and we reestablished Stoney Acres as an organic vegetable farm. And then, so we got a spot in the Wausau Farmers Market, and built our CSA clientele in 2006 and 2007. We established community-supported agriculture, which, if your listeners don't know, is people subscribe to my farm like you would subscribe to a magazine, but instead of getting a magazine, you get a box of fresh, seasonal, organic produce delivered to your neighborhood. And that's throughout the growing season. So I'm loading up my greenhouse right now. I haven't planted anything in the field, but I have 5 hoop houses, and I'm loading that up. And CSA is one of the big sources of my produce. The Wausau Farmers Market is the other, but then a lot of it goes into Pizza on the Farm, which I established in 2012 after getting to know Robbie Bannon and Ted Fisher of A to Z Produce in Pepin County, Wisconsin, on the border of Minnesota, right on the St. Croix River. And got to know them and loved that idea and wanted to diversify the farm in a way that, brought people to the farm. I think because, one of the things, I love being about a farm boy is that, you kind of know, you're getting this work ethic that can be applied to anything that is, very valuable. You can work through something, you get, jack of all trades, sort of mechanical, physical, agricultural, veterinary skills, and master of none. But the thing I hated about being a farm kid is that I felt like growing up, I had to bale hay. I had to do chores. I had to wash cows before we milked them, and I had to do that twice a day. And I felt like all my buddies were screwing around in town and having a good time. I felt like I was missing the party because I was wedded to the chores of that. And so Pizza on the Farm, I think in my own sort of grew out of the own psychology is I have to bring the party here. and that's kind of what I want. I say my theme for this year is saving the family farm one pizza party at a time. And that's what I'm doing. And so Pizza on the Farm has become the majority of my business. It's probably 55-60% of my income. But then selling produce, organic produce, and pork, and eggs, and wheat, and some beef is the other thing. So I tell anyone who comes through the farm at Stoney Acres, I have 4 ethical and productive principles, which is we are a local, so I don't sell commodities. I sell food directly to people who consume it. So, and then we are diversified. So I have lots of things going on, 40 vegetable crop families, mushrooms, pork, beef, eggs, pizzas, markets, CSA, different ways to sell the things. Organic, I'm certified organic. My acreage is certified organic. My vegetables are certified organic. And a family farm. So the way I define that, because that's a term that's manipulated, I think, by big ag, but is where the family provides the majority of labor. And since I've been divorced, I'm not probably quite there, but I'm intentionally small. So I have 2 full-time employees who help me throughout the summer, and then my son, who's 14, he comes on with some of his high school buddies. And then during Pizza on the Farm, I can have anywhere from, like, 6 people working tonight. It's opening night. Cooler, my heyday is, like, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, typical tourism season in Wisconsin. But I can have anywhere from 5 or 6 to, like, 14 people working pizza night, depending on how I'm expecting it. It's based on the weather. So I kind of have a flexible crew of, like, neighbors, friends, my own workers, my kids, to help me, like, pull off Pizza on the Farm. And we've been doing that since 2012. I'm doing it twice a week, every Friday and Saturday. We open tonight, April 4th. So we're just going out to finish prep and do some cleaning before people show up. Yeah.
That's a lot, yeah. Because I was looking at your website. I guess, how do you, like, livestock-wise, do you outsource that, or do you grow them from birth?
Sure. So the reason I raise, like, beef and pork, is because of just for, like, that diversity. So I have 80 acres, which I bought from my parents. I'm planning on buying, like, another, 80 in the next couple of years. And from them, I'm slowly buying their land. And it's just grazing animals is one of the main ways to occupy that. Because, frankly, you could have a farm, like a pizza farm, I think on, like, 20 acres. You could have with vegetables, maybe if you grew some of your wheat. But to me, being a pizza farm means you're a farm first. So it's not like you have a red barn in the country and you buy a bunch of stuff from Cisco and that's the thing about why people come to my farm. I am raising the wheat. I'm raising all the pigs. I'm raising the beef to add to the pepperoni. I'm raising all of the vegetables, the mushrooms. The only thing I don't do is the cheese because I'm not crazy enough or disciplined enough to have a dairy farm on top of it and make cheese, and which is a totally different, like, certification. I'm just not. It's impossible to do at this scale to have that level. Not impossible. I'm just not maniacal enough to do it. But yeah. So, but that's my goal, to, like, do as much as I can. I have tried raising pigs from farrowing hogs, sows, but I'm just not good at it. Sometimes I will hit the windows. I don't want to manage a boar on top of everything, and I don't have a system for it because I want to graze my pigs. And so I'd have to keep the boar inside, away, and I have, like, kids here all the time. I tried doing in the past. My ex-wife got bit, and in retrospect, I don't feel bad about it now, but just joking. And so I buy feeders now. So I buy the feeder pigs. I've tried farrowing, but sometimes I get the timing wrong. They'll be born when it's, like, December, and they crawl away under the heat lamp, or, like, they break it, or they break the fence. The pig lays on half of them. I'm bad at it. So I buy feeders from, like, my neighbors primarily. Yeah. Beef are homegrown from my own stock. I just will, like, rent a bull or borrow a bull or every year, and then just sell it, or buy a bull and sell it buy it in August, sell it in November for the window.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's also a good way to build some community as well, because if you're outsourcing all that for, like, your hogs and stuff, it allows that kind of that growth and that family business to continue, which is, I think, a big problem in the U.S. is a lot. Everything's going kind of more corporate than, like, these family farms. So,
yeah, I mean that's the reason. Like, sort of, like, I believe in family farming because I believe in economic democracy. Do we want an economy where very few people own all of the wealth, or do we want it to be distributed as broadly as possible, where people who want to work and create something and have a dream to, like, they need to be able to access capital. They need to be able to access land. They need to be able to get into the market. And so I want broad-based and independent decision-making. I want lots of people making decisions on the land. And some of them might not be as good as others, and they will fail, and some of them, but having that broad-based decision-making allows for innovations and allows for better cultural representation of where people are at and what they're producing. And, and I think being better at generally managing the land, because if you have a smaller amount, you care for it more. You're better at micromanaging because you have less of it, basically. And it's more important that you get it right. And so you understand your land more intimately if you don't have so much of it. So I think all those reasons, like ecologically and economically, family farming is very important. And I know now with a broad industrial society that farmers are a small portion of the population, but it's still important that we have small agriculture, and not just as like a nice picture to take, but like a real part of our agricultural economy. Like, look at the egg prices right now. They're going nuts. Why, in part, is because, you have 1 billion chickens in one barn, in one place, feeding everybody eggs. And one of them gets a cold, then you're screwed, right? I love being at the farmers market right now. About 80% of our customers come in the first half hour to buy eggs. We call it the egg rush. Everybody at the market, because the farmers market, our costs haven't changed. So, I was selling eggs at $5 a dozen for organic eggs before, and now I'm selling it for the same price, and and that's more than people would typically pay in the grocery store. But now it's a deal, and I haven't changed my price. I'm just saying, this is the importance of local, diversified family farms. This is the importance of having this type of agriculture represented in the economy, and it should be encouraged.
Yeah, no, I like that point about knowing your land intimately, and once you have less of it, you're more in tune to it. Because I don't remember what farm I heard, but they were having some soil problems and stuff because they have so much land, but they didn't care as much about the land. So that's a good point. I'd never really thought about that before.
Well, I'm saying, large farms get that way because they probably are excellent managers. But I just think you have an inherent issue. The more you manage, the less, it's harder for you to be responsible for detail. And every acre is a detail, So
Yeah, no, there's definitely a little, well, like you said, once you have less land, you have to make sure it's producing properly, and you have to take care of it properly. Otherwise, if you have a bad crop that year or something, that could really affect you. But when you have those bigger operations, it could kind of, you don't have as much pressure, I guess you could say, to get it right every time. But so you said your son comes and helps you out. Do you have any other kids, or is it just the one?
Yeah, I have three kids. Riley is a junior in high school. He's 17. Ted is a freshman. He's 14. And my daughter, Maple, is in 6th grade. She's 11.
Okay. Any of them planning to take over the farm from you when you get over?
I would love that, but I'm not planning on it. But I would love it, but I'm not planning, but I'm prepared. I'm not trying to think about that yet, a transition.
Okay.
I am 45, so I am going to think about that when I'm 55. My goal is to farm until I'm 63 years old, because then my daughter will be 30, and they will all have had an opportunity to come back to the roost. I think you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So I'm not, no pressure, but boy, would I love that. It would just make my day. I would.
Yeah.
The way this works right now is my parents. I bought it from my parents, and my dad bales hay, makes maple syrup, taps. I help tap, and I will walk lines. But he is there whenever I need someone to drive tractor. He's here. He just lets me use his truck if I need to run a load of hogs or something. And he just, one of the keys to a successful family farm is it's intergenerational support. And that is exactly what I have with my parents, my mom and dad helping me. So I would love to do the exact same thing. I would love to be like quasi-retired, have like little side gigs, but help my son or daughter, with the rest of my time, pretty much, when I'm that age. Yeah.
No, that's cool. So kind of going back, we're going to backtrack a little bit. Because you mentioned you went to school. What did you study at school?
I have a degree in curriculum and instruction development. So an education degree. I have a BS in education from UW-Madison, but I had a focus on writing curriculum, and I had a focus on social studies. So I graduated and I got a job teaching social studies at Columbus High School in Columbus, Wisconsin for 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my high school. I went to Columbus in Marshfield, right?
No, Columbus, Wisconsin.
Oh.
It's about 20 minutes outside of Madison. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but I know Columbus. Yeah. I went to Newman High School, so we played Columbus, and it was the old CWCC, the Central Wisconsin Catholic Conference, when it was Newman and Regis and Aquinas and Columbus. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. So then what interested, because you mentioned growing up you were like, I'm not really into the farm labor aspect. What changed to you wanting to buy your parents' ranch or farm?
Well, I think it's not that, I don't know. I think it's just because I didn't want to, like, do chores. I wanted to, like, play. And I didn't do that as, that was, like, just the obligation of it. It's not that farm labor was more disgusting or abhorrent than, like, any other type of chore, probably. But what made me, like, when I was a little kid, I think there's just an American sort of, like, I call it like a nostalgia or iconography about family farming. I remember being a kid and watching when they had Farm Aid. It was on television, and like Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash and Bob Dylan were like saying like the American farm was so important, and they had all these like images, and they would like interview farmers. And I was like 4 or 5, but I remember that being one of the first things on like TV, and like my parents were watching it, and we were watching all the performers, but it was just like this sort of like celebration and romance and like collective like grieving because the family farm was like contracting horribly, right, in the 70s, late 80s and through the 90s. But I just value like the places, like I say, if you when I was a kid, when I was like in elementary school, half of my grade grew up on farms like I have now. When I came back from college, just like this was like 15 years later, and I was the JV basketball coach in Athens, only one kid on the JV basketball team, or the basketball team of like 25 kids, had a farm like that. Luke Merzynski had like a 50-cow conventional dairy farm. And it was just consolidating incredibly rapidly with the changing technological regime of factory farming, CAFOs, now robotic milkers, and, larger and larger machinery. But I always say to people, like, what's better for a place like Edgar, Wisconsin, or Athens, Wisconsin, like one farmer with 3,000 cows or 50 families with 60 cows? And I just think that's better for broad-based ownership, or like this idea of economic democracy, of people having something, being able to participate equally, struggle equally. And as I gained an understanding of what I loved about the farm, and it was like that was so inherent, and that's what like Farm Aid was recognizing, and for like we're losing this agricultural democracy when we have this rapid concentration. But it's, and part of it's just because it's hard to have a family farm because you have to be there to milk those cows all the time. But part of it is just like, no, capitalism says get bigger, get out, or there's fewer and fewer people are going to own all these cows and, systematize it in a way. So that makes it more of like a factory operation. But I felt like losing that was wrong. So I thought, how can I maintain my family farm? And I saw the possibility of that with the local food movement. And also, I was just more open to raising vegetables because I feel like it's easier to fail. Like if the radishes aren't working, I can plow them under. They're too weedy, move on, get the next crop, diversify that. But if I don't want to, I feel like if you're a really good small dairy farmer, you have to just be just like a master of taking care of these cows, and tending to them. And, but then you're still selling a commodity which is worth less and less and less as the market concentrates. So even if you are really great at raising these cows and having a herd and cycling in your heifers and your young stock, which you have to do, I would not be good at that. I am not patient enough to do that. But with vegetables, I can just plant a lot, and then I can sort of let failure wash off my back and take the crops that are working. And that's kind of been my strategy as I do that. And also your off season is just I say I make hay when the sun shines. So I'm working 70 hours a week from March until Thanksgiving. But then I have an off season where I work I do all my paperwork for the year and I get prepped, but I work an hour a day on the farm. I just do animal chores and that's it. Otherwise I'm shut down in the off season. So I like that.
Yeah. So would you recommend, if somebody was looking to get into farming or ranching or whatever it is, it seems like finding the niche, a niche of some kind is going to help you set you apart. And
yeah, I think
obviously.
Oh, sorry, you chopped out a little bit, but yes, finding a niche. How would you get into it? I think you should work on a farm. You should work on a farm that's maybe one size bigger than the farm you want to have. Basically, you're if you wanted to have 150 CSA members or something like that, you would work on a farm with 400 CSA members. And so you would understand that system, but then you could pare it back or you could grow into something, so that would be, I think that's the most important thing. If you want to have a ranch, work on a ranch. You're scrapping and saving every penny you can to buy the land, buy your initial stock, and plan on working out for maybe the first decade of your farm's existence, depending on how aggressive you can be, but or what your risk tolerance is. So work on a farm to gain that knowledge and understanding of what it takes, and work on a farm actively. I've had people come through, and I call them butterfly chasers, which I love, but they are not interested in what does it take for this machine to keep moving. You have to work on it and keep asking questions. You have to work on it actively. You have to take on tasks, ask to do all the tasks possible in the year or two that you're working on the farm. So you get used to those skills. And even if I had a guy last year, he's I'll drive the tractor. I'm I'm not going to pay you $18 an hour to drive that tractor into my machine shed and wreck it. But if you want to come up after work, I will walk with you, and I will and we can make some beds together to plant vegetables into. You can run the 3-point equipment, and I will, shout at you from the ground and give you some instruction of ride along with you. But I when I'm working, when I hire somebody, and you know this, there's two modes. There's education mode, which is nurturing and patient and focused on the development of who I am working with. When I'm a teacher, that's what that is for in a school, is to educate somebody. And then there's production mode. When I'm trying to get something done, in order to make a product, to make money. And production mode does not tolerate education mode. Or it should. That would probably be a better balance for me. But I am like, no, we have to get this done. We're not going to take 3 hours to get something that I could get done by myself in 20 minutes because I need to teach you. So, but you can observe and imitate, and hopefully you figure it out and take it on. But I would say if you want to work on have a farm, you have to work on a farm. You have to take on as many, learn as much as you possibly can in that time. That is going to be the most effective education you can have. Well, understanding that many other forms of traditional education, whether they're technical school or liberal arts education, I think one of the best things I got for my farm coming back here was just the ability to communicate with all kinds of people. Yeah. All right? Especially if I'm small, I'm marketing my product. Just if you're like a bartender, you have to know how to talk to any character that walks in the door. So, and you have to be gracious and patient and thank them and know how to talk to them and know how to make their relationship more than just an exchange of money for your food. It has to be deeper than that. It has to transcend an economic relationship. So that was very important for my liberal arts education, that and the ability to understand the importance of social media was just coming on at that time, but understand the importance of managing that and, managing websites and managing communication and content and stuff like that, which I'm not very good at. I could be better at.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really lost art, just being able to, I feel like the world has made everything pretty transactional, and so people don't have relationships. They don't know how to communicate with people in general because they're all sucked into their phones and screens. And my wife and I talk about that extensively. We're not giving our kids phones or saying anything. And your thought process, I like the work ethic that comes with a farm or a ranch. So sometimes there's that sense of responsibility that kids learn at such a young age that can be greatly beneficial down the road.
Yeah.
And so, my wife and I talk about that extensively.
Yeah. I gave my kids phones in middle school because that's when they were in sports, and so it was a practical communication device. But they're definitely sucked in, and sometimes but I'm guilty of this too. You'll be swiping, and then you look up and it's an hour and a half later, and you're like, I don't know, where did those hour and a half of my life go? But also at the same time, it's just how people entertain themselves, and that's a way to decompress and it's not the end of the world. And I think every generation probably says that about the previous generation, that television's rotting their brains, right? Or something like that. And it's just I think it's just a tool. I do think it's hurting our ability to concentrate. I do think that's real because of the nature of media is like constant dopamine hits. It's bam, bam, 30 seconds, 10 seconds. You're looking at, I don't know, but that's getting off subject. But I have to say that having a Facebook page, an Instagram page, I should be on TikTok. I'm not, but this is the most important way. If you're going to have a small business, you have to be on it. That is how people communicate. So we can be curmudgeonly about it all we want, but this is how people communicate, receive information, and you have to not only post the functional information of what you're trying to sell, you have to be worthy of a follow. And I think I built mine up in part with that idea is that I want some funny little jokes in there. Humor is hits the best. And so you have to work that in or this is a little glimpse of our farm life. Here's 30 seconds of this has happened today on the farm. This is a little chore we do and this is why we're doing it. That type of stuff. I should do more of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, it is a good tool. But I also get sucked into it. An hour later, I'm oh wow, I've just been wasting an hour on my phone looking at that, just scrolling. So we're all guilty of it. But it is a good tool, and learning to use it effectively can definitely be beneficial. So
I think mixing YouTube, a quick Google, how do I fix this wheel bearing? right on my track, like, and finding that, or like the other day, like, how do I fix this? What's this error code on my dishwasher mean, right? Like that is awesome. That is revolutionary, that having that type of information and mixing that with like traditional long form discipline forms of education, like reading, having a discipline for being a mechanic or being a vet or being whatever, somebody wants to be. You have to mix that in and have a broad understanding of the discipline, like agriculture or horticulture or, dairy, but then you can mix in these quick forms of like, oh, this is the specific information I need at this time. Bam, you can get it from YouTube in a second. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, it is. I've used that resource so many times on so many different So, yeah. No, it's a good resource, and it'll be interesting to see as it progresses and technology improves and stuff, how it will affect farming in general more, because, with tractors that drive themselves and all this other stuff, like, it'll be definitely interesting.
Yeah. Oh, hey, you got a couple more questions? I'm going to get back to the crew pretty soon. I don't know what else you want to hear.
Yeah. I guess my last one is, so I guess during winter months, how do you feed your cattle and things like that? Because especially in Wisconsin, the winters can be quite grueling.
Sure. Well, with the beef, we have a small square baler in the summer, and I have a hay mow, and so we will like fill the hay mow up. But I also round bale like about 15-20% of it, because sometimes you can't get to it, like, or it's going to rain, and so I called the neighbor and said, get over here with a round baler and like finish this off. And then I will like use up those round bales first because they're outside, and then every day right now I only have 15 animals, like 15 beef cows, because when the drought came, we sold a lot off. I've had as many as 100 beef cows, but now I sold off. Yeah, I'm down to like 15, and my dad's 74 right now, so he's still going, but I don't know how much longer, and I'm going to have to reorganize my entire life when that happens. But then I throw them about 12 bales. I just go up in the hay mow, and I throw them into a feeder at the base of it every day. And the cows eat in the back of the barn, and that's a big bedding pack for them. And then I clean it out, like probably first couple dry days or end of April dry days, where I'll get my neighbor's got a giant manure spreader. I have him come over, and I'll like load that all up, and we make a compost pile that I'll put out next year. My pigs, I have these big hog feeders that I will fill up, like, depending on how many pigs I have, every other week or every third week, and then I like load up their pens, and I will like pull them out and clean up their pens, and I'll like rotate them. The old dairy barn is where I keep the pigs in the winter, and then I will like throw a ton of hay down for them too, and that's their bedding. And yeah, that's how I feed the animals in the winter, and I have water. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just thought of one more that's actually I was curious about. How do you get certified as organic? Is that like a pretty big process, or how does that work?
Sure. You have to be organic for 3 years. It's this transition. You have to alert a certifying agency that you're transitioning. And so it takes 3 years of, like, if you had a conventional farm that was sprayed, then you have to wait, 3 years to, like, move through that. My parents rented the land to a conventional crop farmer in between the time they were farming and when I moved back. So we waited until 2008 or 2009 before we became organic. And then it's a matter of documenting the fact that you're organic. Most of being certified organic is documentation, paperwork. I have to keep a calendar of everything I produce, when I plant it, when I harvest it, how much I'm selling at the farmer's market, how much I'm selling for community support, how much I'm packing with community-supported agriculture. Having that documented, having my compost, when I turn it, I clean my wheat, that the wheat cleaner, is clean, that the combine is clean. What else do I have to write down? Just my field maps. And one of the main things about organic, what people understand, it's not only no spray, So you have to have only organic inputs, and there can be organic pesticides and herbicides, but I don't use any of them because it's costly. To me, it's just like diversity and suffering failure, is more my strategy, like having lots of things coming in. But documenting your, inputs and when you plant, what your field map is, and how you're improving your soil. I improve my soil through crop rotation, composting, and I'll add some cabbage fertilizer. But a lot of it is cover cropping too. So a lot of oats and peas, a lot of rye. Constantly getting that down to build organic matter. So one thing, it's hard to bring in nitrogen, which I buy organic chicken manure basically to improve my nitrogen situation. But building organic matter, and that's cover cropping. So organic matter for my vegetable acreage. That's the important thing. So, which facilitates whatever's in the soil to be taken up. It just makes the soil structure, more amenable to, whatever to growing. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. It's a lot of paperwork, it sounds like.
Right. Well, it is. It's a pain in the butt. I don't like doing it, but I believe that the O word means, has helped small farms. In some sense, the O word there's still industrial organic farms, but it's created a space for people to have, especially I think in dairy, where you have to be essentially graze your animals. The pasture rule should be enforced. You have to. It creates a space for smaller farms. That's not. It's still not organic. Doesn't automatically mean that, but it helps create the space for it. So I think it's important. It's important to say this food is different. This food, and what I tell people about being organic is that, are you going to get cancer because because the pepper is sprayed, a conventional pepper, and you eat it? And, that's not, how much it got to be made up of. And I said, no, because there are so many things that go into why somebody would get, breast cancer or prostate cancer, which are two of the main, or a birth defect, right? Where these are the problems with pesticides, which is your personal genetic history, your diet, your every person's physiology lends it more to that than that probably. But is that a causation? No. But is it a strong, obvious correlation that if you put something with a skull and crossbones all over your food supply, people are more likely to get prostate cancer, breast cancer, birth defects, hormone disruptions? Yes. Yeah. So it's not a scientific causation that if you eat a conventional pepper, you're going to get cancer. But does it go up in our general population? Yes, that happens. All sorts of things about industrialism, but one of them is having pesticides and herbicides an integral part of our food supply. So, yeah, I believe that. That's true. So that's the main reason I'm organic, for the same reason people want to eat organic food, for health and environmental reasons. And especially farmers and farm workers are in the middle of that haze of pesticide. We're more subject to the problems of, ask a potato farmer in the Central Sands. They're concerned about getting cancer. They are concerned about it. Yeah, because of the nature of their job. I still love Lay's potato chips, but that's one of the, costs of it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point. It allows the opportunity for that smaller farmer because, kind of going back to your point about you have a more intimate knowledge and relationship with the land and your product that you're producing. So,
right on.
But yeah, I know you got your opening night tonight, so I'll let you go. But thank you so much for coming and talking to me. Sorry we had to do a little figuring out for
the time. Sorry, it's one of the things I need to get better at, Zoom calls, apparently. All right. Thanks, Noah. Good luck with the podcast. I look forward to it.
Good luck tonight. Hopefully you have a good show out. So.
All right.
Thank you for watching or listening to this show. If you're enjoying the show, please like, subscribe, and even share with a friend. And we will see you next time on the Ranch Hand Show, where we will continue to grow our plans.